Okay, I can see you people now. Good morning, good morning, everyone. I'm still saying good evening. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope you guys can hear me. Am I audible? Am I visible? Can you see my screen, guys? Please let me know that in the chat, everyone. So, good morning, and welcome back to the third and last day of HTML and CSS Essentials. I hope I'm audible and you guys can hear, you guys can also see my screen. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for your time in the morning on a Sunday. So good morning and welcome back. I can see Sandeep, Lavanya, Abul Mofid, Twin Shots, Shardul, Manish. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Hemant. Good morning, buddy. So good morning, everyone. And today, like last time, I think we started with CSS. So we learned some basic thing about CSS. We learned how classes work. We learned how IDs work and how to link a CSS file, how to give some height and width. And we also understood about box model. So now we know what is height, what is width, what is margin, what is padding. So we saw all the basics last time. Okay. So now today we'll shift to one more really important topic that comes in alignment arrangement of elements, because the whole purpose of learning CSS is to learn how to arrange your elements, how to align your elements, and how to make everything look good. So last time we started with the basics. Today we'll just go one step ahead, and today we'll learn about flexboxing, one of the very important things to learn in CSS in terms of layouting. And then after that, I also want to show you something about pseudo classes and few more things about pseudo elements. And if we get time, I'll also show you how to perform shadows and transformations. Is that clear, everyone? So that's what I'm planning to do for today. So we'll learn about flexboxing, we'll see how to arrange elements, then we'll move to pseudo classes, and then we'll move to pseudo elements. And then after that, if we get time, if we are still in time, I'll also show you how transformations work, because that transformations are amazing. They're really cool properties of CSS. Is that clear, everyone? So that's the whole topic for today, and let's try to cover up everything out of it, so that we are ready with the basics of CSS, so that after this session you'll be knowing how to use CSS. And if you combine all of them, work with all of them, it's going to be very simple for you to create a web page. Is that clear, everyone? So icon, okay, that's fine. So if we get time, I'll also show you how to use font awesome icons. Is that clear, Anasami? If we get time at the end, after 1.5 hours, if we get time, let's see how much time I can do here today. So if we get time after that, I'll also show you how to what do you say, use icons. So please explain how to make a good form. Okay, not a problem. We can do it as a small project. We can do it as a mini project at the end. So just a doubt, as I have registered late, will it be still able to get assignment link and certificate? Yes, Madhvi, yes. You can actually curate all your assignments, complete all your assignment, create a zip file and upload in the assignment submission link. So just perform all the assignments from the day 1 till day 3, perform all the assignments, zip everything and just upload it in. That's fine. I think that will work. Okay, everyone. So are we excited for today's session, guys? Please tell me, because we have a lot of things to cover. So guys, are we excited for today's session? Everyone, please tell me so that we can start. Okay. So I think we can use this second.html file, because we didn't use it a lot. There was just one div that we created. So I don't think there is a new there is a need of a new file, so that we don't have to create anything. Let's simply perform all the things here in second.html, because we didn't have done a lot of things in this, so we can use this file again. Okay, let me just increase the font size so that you can see everything, and let's close the sidebar. Okay, so now guys, without wasting any more time, let's get started. Fine, Anarsami, not a problem. Let's see how much we can cover. I'm actually planning to cover a lot of fundamentals. So I have planned flexboxing, I have planned pseudo classes, pseudo elements, and transformations. And again, let's see if we complete all of this fast. If you guys can understand everything fast, I can also show you how background images work, how background positions work, and how to write on top of images and everything. Let's see how much we can cover. I'm planning to cover a lot of things today. Let's see how much we can cover. Okay, so guys, let's get started. So let me remove all of it. Okay, and before moving on, I want to show you one more thing that I missed last time. Okay, so I just want to show you one more thing, and let's also run this page. So right click, copy the path, let's go on the browser. Okay, here we go, a good looking white browser. Now let's go. Let me create a div here. Okay, because I want to show you something. Let's give it a class of 1 again. This is just to see something. So dot one. Let's give it a height of 100 pixels. Let's give it a width of 100%. And let's give it a background color of red. Okay. Save it. Now let's see what is happening here. Now, can you guys see a little gap on the top, on the left, on the right, and it's also in the bottom? You can't see it right now, but it's also in the bottom. So can you guys see a gap on the top, left, and right? And it's also in the bottom, but you can't see it, but that's fine. Now, this is the problem, because when you go to sites like Facebook, Flipkart, and Twitter, there you'll see everything is actually end to end. There is no gap. And here, when we are creating our element, like even if I'm creating a single element without doing anything, I'm still getting a gap here. So why is that gap there? Like, we also want to understand the reason, because we know, okay, fine, that gap can be created using margin. That gap can be created using margin. That I have a hint of. But I have not given any margin to this one div. So how I'm like getting that gap? So now we have to make sure, like, is that a gap of my element? So let's just try to understand that. Let's try to understand that. So for that, just click on inspect. Let's see what is the problem. So that's how you can understand about elements, guys. If something is like happening that you're not expecting, always inspect it and see what is happening. So if I go on this div, there's nothing applied. There's only height, width, background, and by default it is having a display of block because it's a block element. That's what we learned last time. So what is the problem? And there is no other element here. So how we are getting this gap? So for that, let's go to body now. And if you go to body, see there is some CSS applied to it. It's a default CSS. We have not applied anything to body. So you can see body is having by default a display of block. That's fine. That's fine. That doesn't concern me. But you can see there is also a margin of 80 pixel applied to the body. There is also a margin of, sorry, not 18, 8 pixel. I'm sorry, I misread it. There is also a margin of 8 pixel applied to the body. And that's why we are getting that gap. You can see if I highlight, like hover it, the whole margin gets highlighted. That means your body is having a by default margin of 8 pixel. And if you want to make a full width site end to end, you have to remove this margin. And not only body, a lot of elements in future that you'll create will have a default margin, like heading tags, H1, H2, H3 that we learned on the first day. They also have a default margin. So a lot of elements going to have a default margin. And I don't want that. I want all the elements to start from zero, no margin, no padding. I want all the elements to start from zero. Now, there are a lot of elements who also have a by default padding, like UL and LI. They have something, they have a by default padding. So there are going to be a lot of elements who have a by default margin and by default padding. Now, see, if I want to remove this body's margin, what I can do is I can simply write body and margin 0 pixel. So basically, I'm mentioning like body, don't use your default 8 pixel, use this margin of 0 pixel. Let's save it and see if something happening. Here we go. You can see now that everything is end to end. There is no gap on the top, on the left, and also not on the bottom. Okay, so that's how you can remove the margin, the default margin of the body. But as I told you that there are a lot of elements that are going to have a margin. Not only this, there are a lot of elements that have a default margin. So if I mention body here, it will only work for body. So what is something that I can do so that all the elements don't have any default margin? So for that, you have a something like asterisk or a star, whatever you want to call it. This is called as a universal selector. This selects all the elements. So H1, body, P, every element that you're going to create, this selects everything. And I say margin 0 pixel. That means for all the elements, I want a margin of 0 pixel. That means by default, all the elements will have a margin of 0 pixel from now on. And yeah, in future, if I want to give any margin to any element, I can specify that in that particular element. But yes, by default, they will all have a margin of 0 pixel. And as I told you that in future, there are like you're gonna like tackle a lot of elements that also have by default padding. So for that, I can also say padding 0 pixel. That means, okay, fine. For all the elements, I want a default margin of 0, default padding of 0. There should be nothing applied to them. And then if I want to apply, I can apply. But margin 0, padding 0 for all the elements. So like this is one of the important lines that you put on like almost all that you post in almost all the CSS files, just to avoid extra margin or padding. Can you tell me what was the assignment for first 2 days? I think it was this. First day was create a web page containing 5 images, 1 audio, 2 videos. And second date was create 3 sections. First section will have 3 child elements. Second section will have 2 child elements. And third section will have 2 images. So this was the assignment, Chirag, buddy. So everyone, are we cleared? Guys, please tell me. So this is one thing that we'll always put on all the, like on top of all the CSS files. So that everything is end to end and nothing is applied. So everyone, please tell me, are we clear with this basic? Guys, everyone. So I can see a lot of people like already knew it. That's amazing. That's really amazing. But for all the people who did knew it, I hope now it is cleared. So this is what you have to put every time so that your site is end to end. Now then, without losing any more time, let's get started. Let's get started with the basics of flexboxing. Okay. So now we'll keep this on the top. Now let's move ahead. So now let me create a container. Okay. So let me just do like div class, like let's say main. Okay. So main, I'm going to give it a width of 100%. So whatever is the width of the body, take it. I'm going to give it a height of like around 500 pixels or maybe 600 pixels. That's also fine. And let's give it a background color of light gray. Save it. Guys, please focus. Now you have to focus, right? Now you guys have to focus because we are learning about flexboxing. If you understand this once, you don't have to understand it in future. It's really easy, but you just have to understand it. There are a few basic things that people get confused in. If you follow me, if you just listen carefully, like everything for next 10 minutes, you'll understand everything. Okay? So don't worry, guys. Let's use it. What is the use of container? A container is basically used to hold elements together. Okay, so basically what you do is your web page is very big, right? So you divide your web page in sections. So a section is also a container, and sometimes inside section you want to create different things. So basically to contain everything, you use a container, just like a bucket. So that if you want to move the whole content together, you can use that container, and that container holds your element and keeps it in place. So that's the use of a container. Is that clear, Sandeep? Hold your element, keeps them in place, helps you in moving your elements, and at the end makes them look good, keeps them together. That's the use of container. Okay, guys, so now let's move ahead. So now I have like a basic box here. Now inside this, please focus, guys, and I'm going to test you. So let's see what you remember from the last session. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like few child elements here. Okay, I'm going to create few child elements. So let me give it a class of card. Okay, and now as we know that we can reuse the class name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. Let's say 3 times. Okay, and let's give it a class of like the first one, a class of card1, next one card2, and next one card3. So I have 3 elements: card1, card2, and card3. Now let's go. Let's give all of them a CSS. So dot card1, sorry, height of let's say 150 pixels, width of 200 pixels, and background color of red. Okay, let's create one more card. So like one more, like the CSS for the second card. Let's write that for the third card. Card 2, same height, same width, but the color I want here is green. Now I'm giving different colors to them so that we can understand them better. Okay, and let's give it like card 3, and let's give it a class of blue. Okay, now save all of it and let's see. Here we go. Now can you guys tell me why they are like coming in the vertical side? Like why they are arranged vertically? Even if I have a lot of space here. Now this is a test question. We learned about this in the last session. So I want you guys to answer now. Now they are going in the vertical direction. Why? Why even if I have this much space, they are not going horizontal? Can you guys tell me? Come on, guys, everyone. They have margin on the right in form it's mentioned as link. GitHub. In assignment submission form, we have to paste the URL of assignment. Yes, Primus, you can do one thing. You can just simply zip your things, upload it on GitHub, and then just pass the link. That's it. Take the rest of the space. Yes. See, the first thing is their margin right is going towards the end. Okay, the basic thing about this is they are all arranged because they are block element. That's it. Let's not go about arrangement right now. Basically, they are block elements, and their right margin is taking up the whole space. right? We learned this last time. They are block elements and their right margin takes up the whole space. So what is one thing we can do? We can convert them. So what we can do is we can tell them, now fine, I don't want you to be a block element. I want you to be an inline block element. Let's give display of inline block to all of it. That means, okay, fine. I want all of you to become an inline block element. And now if we do this, here we go. Simple. Now they are arranged horizontally. And that's what I wanted, right? That's what I wanted. No, Saurabh, we have yet not started flex. There's nothing about flex boxing right now. Default flex directions column. No, we have not started with flex till now. We are just on the basics. That's why we have to understand the basics first, right? Before moving on to flexbox. Flexbox is a different thing, but first of all, we have to understand the basics. They are vertically arranged because they are block level elements. And Saurabh, just for your question, buddy, by default flex direction is never column. It's always row. Is that clear, Saurabh? By default flex direction is never column. Okay, guys. So this is what you can do. So what I did now, I converted all of them to an inline block element, and now they are arranged horizontally. But you can see a few problems now. Now, whenever you arrange your elements in an inline block fashion, you can see a little gap around it. So that's one issue about inline block. And now, if you simply want to transfer them like in center, all of them in center, all of them at the right, or centered vertically, that's a really tough thing. Now I have to use a lot of margins. If I want to move all of them in the center, I have to use a lot of margins. Like I have to go to all these elements and I have to give them a margin so that they can come down. Now we know that margin is actually a sizing, but it's like completely transparent, completely invisible. So that will feel like a movement. But still, I still have to go everywhere and give margins so that I can move them down. And if I want to move them into center, I again have to use margin. If I want to move all of them to the right, I again have to perform margins. And if I want to give gaps, again I have to perform margin, and I always have to calculate, because I have to calculate depending on what is my parent size, right? If my parent is small, the gaps will be small. If my parent is big, the gaps will be big. So that's one issue. And for a lot of time, people use these ways only to arrange their elements, using margins, using paddings, right? Using display. But now we have a really new thing that helps us in this without thinking of calculations, without thinking of margin. We can simply center them. We can simply move it here and there. Now, if you go on internet before flexboxing, people used to always search how to center an element vertically and horizontally, how to center an element vertically and horizontally. And there were a lot of ways to center your element vertically and horizontally. But you always have to like search for it because you will never find a better way. But after like flexboxing came into the role, it was really simple to arrange your elements centered vertically and horizontally. So like that's what flexboxes did. And now we are going to learn that. So try to understand what I'm saying. Display inline block solves one issue. Things are arranged horizontally, but you can see there are gaps between them. You can see if I want to move them in center, I have to use margin. If I want to give them gaps, I again have to use margin. If I want to move them down, again I have to give margin. And I always have to calculate how much to move. I always have to calculate how much I have to move. Is that clear? So that's like one way of arranging things, but that is something we are not dealing with today. Because today we are directly going to learn something that's really cool that helps us in doing all this without using margin or padding or anything. Okay, so now guys, let's move ahead and let's simply talk about flexboxing. And now you don't need this. So remove it, remove it, remove it. So I have removed all the display inline block. Let's make it normal again. So now this is normal. Now, what is flexboxing in CSS? Now see, first of all, what is flexboxing? It's nothing but flexible boxes. Flexbox is nothing but flexible boxes. That means a neat and clean way of arranging your boxes. And it's so flexible that it's actually very easier to arrange them. That's why they are called as like flexbox, because it's really flexible to arrange these boxes here and there. Now you can like understand any kind of definition for this, but for me, I think why they are called as flex boxes, because they are flexible. You can simply like vertically align them. You can just by just writing one property, you can horizontally align them. By just writing one property, you can center them. By just writing one property, you can move them in center vertically. You can do anything by just writing one single property. Okay, so basically it's really flexible. I think that's why they are called as flex boxes. Okay, and that's what we're going to learn today. So now let's say I want to do the same thing. I want to arrange them horizontally. I want to do the exact same thing. I want to arrange them horizontally. And now I'm not going to use display inline block or anything. Let them be block elements. I don't care. Now, remember guys, if you want to arrange your three elements horizontally, flexboxing works with the parent element. Now see here, if I wanted to arrange them horizontally, I go on that element and I convert them to inline block. But when you're working with flexboxing, guys, you have to mostly work with the parent element and not with the direct elements. I know that I want to arrange them horizontally, but I'm not never going to work with them. Like not now, basically, not now. Okay. So flexboxing always deals with the parent element. Mostly it will deal with the parent element. So you can go to the parent element, that is main, right? Cards, all three cards are inside main. So you can go to the parent element and simply go there and say display of flex. That's it. That means make all the elements that are inside me a flex box. Okay. So as soon as you give display flex, you can see what is happening. Now all the elements that are going to be inside this main, they're always going to arrange horizontally. They're always going to arrange themselves horizontally. So if you simply come to main and give display flex, so now whatever element is inside main, they're always going to arrange horizontally. Is that clear, everyone? See, single property solved everything. And now I don't have any gaps. And first of all, I don't have to do any calculation. I'm going to show you that how it works. But are we cleared, guys? Everyone, please tell me, are we cleared? Now it doesn't matter what kind of element you have. It can be a P element, it can be a div element, it can be a h1 element, it can be anything. You can see that if I create a h1 element after this, like h1 hello, if I also create a P element here, okay, I don't have to take care of any different kind of element. See, let's put some paragraph there. I never have to take care of any kind of element. You can see that. Now they can be all different elements. I have three divs. I have one H1. I have one P. I don't have to take care of it. Everything is going to be arranged horizontally. That's the best thing about flexbox. You can see three elements, then you have this, and then you have your text. Is that clear, everyone? And you can see the width got shrunk a little. Don't worry. We're also going to talk about that. Don't worry about that right now. Don't you worry about that right now. But I just wanted to show you this. Okay. So that's how display flex work. Now for some time, let's remove all of it. Otherwise we'll get confused. Let's remove this. Let's only work with three divs. I just wanted to show you that how it works. You don't have to take care of what kind of elements you have. Now, what if I want to arrange them vertically? Which one is better, sir, flexbox or grid, or they work together? You work together. Actually, we mix them. Depending on the needs, sometimes we use flexboxing, mostly for parent elements, mostly for bigger sections, we go for flexboxing. And when I want to arrange something in a grid manner, like products or something like that, there I can definitely go for grids. Okay. So I think for arranging your elements horizontally, vertically, making your like arranging your sections, we go for flexbox. But when I have like a section of products or like a gallery or something like that where I want to use something like grid, I can use grid. So we can work with both of them together. It's not like grid is a successor of flexbox or grid is made to replace flexbox. No, we still use everything. We mix all of it. We mix display, we mix flexboxing, we mix grid, we mix everything and make our site. Sometimes we don't use few of this. Sometimes in some sites I only like to use flexbox. I don't even use grids. So it depends on the site. It depends on what kind of thing you're making and what you find simple in that case. Okay. Now, guys, let's move ahead. And as I told you, that guys, whenever you give display flex, by default, things will arrange horizontally. Always. Whenever you give display flex, by default, things will get arranged horizontally. Why? Because there is something called as flex direction. There's something called as flex direction. And by default, the value of flex direction is row. That means your elements will align in a horizontal direction. Remember, guys, row means horizontal, column means vertical. Simple, right? A table formation. Row means horizontal, column means vertical. So by default, the direction of flex is row. So even if you don't give flex direction, by default, it's row. So what if I want to arrange them in column direction? So I can simply go and write flex direction column. Here we go. Now it's normal, right? It's normal, but that's fine. This is flex direction column. Remember it, guys. Is that clear? So flex direction row is by default, even if you don't give it. And then you have flex direction column. Now see, you also have this column reverse. See what happened. The first element now is at the last. then the second, and then the third. So by simply writing one property, you rearranged your elements. If I tell you to do the exact same thing, you have to use a lot of margins. You have to move your elements here and there. But by just using one property, column reverse, you simply did this without using any properties. Now think of it like this. If I tell you to create three elements and rearrange them like this, you have to use a lot of margins. You have to move the first element at the bottom, then second, then third. Now you don't have to because you simply have column reverse. Is that clear? But normally, like, it's very rare to use it. You're not going to use it like a lot of times, but that's fine. I just wanted to show you this. So everyone, are we cleared? Guys, please tell me, are we understanding this? Guys, now mostly you're going to work with row. So for now, let's comment it down and let's like only work with row. Okay, now two most important properties where people get confused. Let's try to understand the two most important properties related to flexboxing that people don't understand. Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, before like going to that properties, I want to talk about two things. Remember, guys, you're either working with rows or you're working with columns. Okay, so it's like x-axis and y-axis, right? Row is your x-axis and column is your y-axis. So now remember, when flex direction is row, x is your main axis and y is your cross axis. Remember, when direction is row, x is your main and y is your cross. Always remember this. And when direction is column, x is your cross and y is your main. Always remember this, guys. Okay, so when direction is row, x is your main axis and y is considered as cross axis. That means the row direction will be your main axis and the column direction will be your cross axis. And when the direction is column, x becomes your cross and y becomes your main. The column axis becomes your main axis. Now remember this. Always remember this. These two things are very important. People don't understand this and they like think that flexboxing is hard or confusing. Just understand these two things and everything will be cleared. Now, why we learned this? Let's talk about that. So now we have a property called as justify content. Now remember, this property always works with the main axis. This property always works with the main axis. That means if the direction is row, it will work with the x-axis. If the direction is column, it will work with the y-axis. So justify content always works with the main axis. Is that clear? Now it is simply used to justify the content. Give, like, if you want to give gaps, if you want to arrange your elements, this property is used for that. But remember, it will always work on the main axis. So now let's see what it is doing. Okay. Now see, you have center, something called as center. Here we go. It centers all of your child elements. Simple. Justify content center. One property centered. You can also do this. Justify content flex end. Here we go. You can move everything towards the end. Now by default, it was flex start. That's why it was here. It was here by default, right? So justify content was flex start by default. But now see how simple it was to move your elements in center by just using single thing or single property, single value. Now let's talk about something else as well. In this, you also have this. You have something called as space between. See what it does? It creates space between your elements and equal spaces. You don't have to calculate how much margin to give or how much spaces to give. This is real space and it is equal space. Now, if you have 4 elements, 5 elements, it is still going to be real, like good. You don't have to worry about it. Are we understanding? So this is space evenly, even spaces between your elements. Now you also have space around. In this, we also create the around spaces, the space at the start and the space at the end. And also we have between spaces. But you can see the around space size and the between space size, there is a gap. Like between space size is bigger. So between space depends on the number of elements. Or around space also depends on the number of elements, but the size will always be different. Around space is always considered less. Don't worry about that. That's normal. That's fine. Okay, but you can see it's equal. This space and this space is equal, and the between spaces are always equal. You don't have to calculate anything. So space around will also give you the around spaces, the space at the start, the space at the end, if you want to like do this. And then you have space evenly. Now what it will do? It will give spaces everywhere, around and in between, but all the spaces will be equal. So space between for spaces between the elements, space around to have space between the elements and also around the elements. But yeah, sizes will be different. Space size will be different. And then you have the best one, that is space evenly, which will simply give you all the spaces, around spaces, between spaces, but all are equal. So are we understanding how simple it is to create spaces? You never have to think of margin or how much to move or like what can be the calculation. You never have to think of that. Never ever. Simple, single property doing everything. Is that clear, everyone? And remember, it will always work on the main axis. Now, why I'm telling you that? See, if I comment this out and let's change the flex direction to column. That means now my main axis is what? My main axis is now y. So now if I use this, see, justify content will work for this. You can see that? Now it is working for the y axis. It's working for the vertical direction. Is that clear, everyone? Are we understanding? So now justify content is working for the vertical direction. Because now my flex direction is column, that means y is my main, and justify content always works for main. Okay, now for some time, let's again remove this direction column. That means now the direction is row, and now justify content will work for horizontal direction. Now there is one more property, just like justify content, almost like justify content, named align items. Now remember, just like justify content, align items works for the cross axis. So justify content always work for the main axis. Align items always, always, always for the cross axis. Remember that. That means in this case where flex direction is row, by default the direction is row, right? So justify content will work for the row direction. Align items will work for the column direction. And if I change the direction to column, that means now my y is main. So in that case, justify content will work for the y axis and align items will work for the x axis. So remember, justify content always for the main and align items always for the cross, and it totally depends on what flex direction you're having. Is that clear? Okay, so now you see normal. Now let's go here and put align items center and see here. You simply centered your elements horizontally, vertically by just using two normal properties, nothing else. Is that clear, everyone? Guys, are we understanding this? Don't worry, Murugesh. Right now, we're not talking about responsiveness, buddy. So don't worry about it right now. Don't worry. I think we learned about responsiveness in the last responsive essentials, right? So don't worry. In future also, we're going to learn that. But right now, we're focusing on this. Okay, because if we like try to make things responsive right now, it will be like really confusing. So let's first learn the basics of flexboxing. Everyone, are we understanding? So you can see align items is working for the column direction. It's working in this direction. Okay, column. Now let's comment this out. Let's again do flex direction column. That means now justify content is working for what? The column direction. And now if I use align item center, you'll see that means now it is working for the row direction like this. It is centering like this, not like this, because now it's working for x, because now my x is cross, because my direction is column. So y is main, x is cross. Is that cleared, everyone? So you also have this align items flex end, because flex start is default. So you can also do this. You can align it there, align it here, align it in the center, anywhere you want. So guys, are we clear with this? Please tell me now. These are the two properties which people find confusing: justify content, align items. Because like why they find it confusing? Because they don't understand this. So a lot of people get confused in the axis, and that's why they like always feel confused how justify content is working for column and row as well. They get confused because they think that justify content always works for row. So that's like a misunderstanding. If you understand the axis, if you understand the direction, these two properties are really easy. So everyone, now you guys tell me, are we cleared or are we finding it confusing? Is justify content and align items cleared, everyone? Please tell me. Guys, please, everyone, come on, tell me. Yes, Sirag. Yes, that's correct, buddy. Yes. Minimal amount of code, we get good result. Yes. Now you're going to see everything. Don't worry. If you start making sites using flexboxing, you'll see. Then after that, you're never going to use your inline block and everything. That's how easy it makes like things. Okay. Now, I want to show a few more things. So let's again get back to column. Remove this for some time. So again, you have this. Okay, so let's again let's get back to row. I removed the column, right? Now, let me create few more elements. And for now, guys, let's remove these two. Let's give all of them the same class so that I can apply CSS at once. Let's give all of them a same class. Okay, so remove all of it and let's only have the card class. So now all of them will be red elements. Sachin is saying what? Sir, we can just use contact. What is contact without display flex? If you're working with without display flex, then you have to use all of the things, right? You have to use margins to align your elements in the center. You have to use margins for gaps, right? Sachin? Okay. Now, guys, let's move ahead. So, how to make HTML output link that can be accessible by everyone and how to post it on GitHub. Okay, Preetha, for that, it's like deploying things. You have to either deploy it on a server or you can deploy it on GitHub and then give the links to the user. Right? It's like launching a website. If you want to give your HTML output access to all the people in the world, you have to deploy your site. You have to launch it. Right? You have to launch your HTML page either on a server. So you have to run it on a server, basically. And you have to give the address of that server or the domain name of your site to all the people, right? It's just like launching a website. So if you want to give your HTML output link to all the people, you have to either deploy it on GitHub for free and then give that page link to all the users, all the people who you want to see your site can do that. Okay. Now, guys, let me create few more card elements. Okay. Now I've removed that. So now I hope you'll understand if I do this. Okay. Okay, guys, so now let's move ahead. Now you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. Now let's go a little deep and let's try to understand few more things. Everyone, please focus now. Here people get confused a lot. So let's try to understand. Now see, my elements are having a height of 150 and a width of 200, and that's correct. They are 150 and 200. That's fine, perfect. Now let's say I create 3 more elements. Please focus, everyone. Please focus. You see that it removes the gaps just to adjust all the elements in one line. And if I create some more elements like this, let's say I create 8 to 10 more elements like this. I have around maybe, I don't know how much elements I have now. Maybe around 12 elements I have now. So you can see that it's still in one line. If I have more elements and if it is not fitting in a screen, it should come down, right? That's how we normally think. It's not going that way. That's a default feature of flexing. It always tries to adjust everything in one single line. Because the direction is row, it tries to keep everything in a row and it tries to keep everything in a parent. It's not even getting scroll. It's not even giving you a scroll. That's the default feature of flex. It tries to keep everything in a row because the direction is row, and it also tries to keep everything inside the parent. So it will make their width small. It will remove the gap, but it will keep them inside the parent. So what if I don't want this? What if I want, if the screen ends, please go down? What if I want that? So for that, what you can do is you have one more property. Just go here and give a property of flex wrap. That means I want you to wrap the elements. Don't try to decrease the size. Don't try to remove the spaces. Don't arrange them in a row direction. Don't just arrange them in a single line. Don't do that. Wrap them. If they go beyond the size of the parent, just move them down. So flex wrap, wrap. And now you'll see what is happening. And here we go. So now you have all the elements with even spaces, and now you can count. So I think I had how much elements I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 14, 15 elements, not 12, 15. That's fine. I'm really bad at math. So everyone, are we understanding? Guys, please tell me, are we understanding this? Everyone. Mohammad Uzair, buddy, please don't spam the chat, guys. Please don't spam the chat, buddy. Please, please, please don't do that. So everyone, are we cleared? So it's a default feature of flex that it tries to put everything in a single line because the direction is row. And if you go beyond the parent, it removes the space. It actually shortens your size because it is trying to keep everything in a single line. So that's why you have to use flex wrap. And that's why it is one of the most important properties, because you don't want that, right? You don't want to crumple everything in a single line. You want this. So that's how you use flex wrap. So remember it, everyone. Always remember this property. And if you understand these, like these many properties, I think you're good to go with flex. Now after this, you can increase the height and width. You can do anything you want. So that was the basics of flex boxing. Is that clear, everyone? Vikas buddy, what is your confusion? Can you tell me what exactly is your confusion? See, now you can see that I'll just tell you why didn't center, because I have justify content space evenly. So the last element is the last one in a line. This last element is the last one in a line, right? So it's getting even spaces from both the sides. That's it, because it is the last element. Is that clear? So bad in maths can still become successful. Why not? Why not? Why not? It's always the case. Is that clear, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? Rahul is asking why card in center, because it's the last element in that particular row. Okay, and it's basically like doing that space evenly thing. So it's getting even spacing from left and from the right. Okay, Vikas is telling me to repeat, so I'll repeat that. Don't worry. What I was saying is, if I don't use this, what happens? You can see there are 15 elements, but there are still in one line. There are no gaps. They are all in one line, and you can't even see a scroll bar here. Because what your wrap did, sorry, not wrap, what your flexing did, it reduced their sizes, it reduced the gaps, it removed the gaps so that it can arrange all of this in a single line. So that's a default feature. And I don't want that. I don't want Flex to arrange everything in a single line for me, because I don't want my elements like this. I don't want my elements compressed like this. So that's why we can use Flex wrap, so that they can be arranged properly. So I don't want you to like arrange everything in a single line. Please wrap them. If they are going beyond my size, put them in the next line. Is that clear? Okay, everyone. I really hope it is cleared now. Okay. Someone is saying me to like show some more features of wrap, right? So for that, let me just put something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, because you'll not understand otherwise, because all are red, right? So if I tell you like now it is reversed, how will you understand that it is actually reversed? So let me give some numbers on them: 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, so that you guys can understand it. Okay, so now I have like 1, 2, and let me just give some font size to that. So let's go to card and give like font size of 40 pixels, so that you can read it at least. Now now you can like understand, like they are all different elements. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here you go. You also have wrap reverse. See what happens. Simple, reversed. That's it. So just to like show you that, I had to like give all of them in numbers so that you can understand this, right? Is that clear, everyone? Yes, Mohammed, you can try that, buddy. When you get this thing, you can also try different colors. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. So everyone, are we clear? So you have wrap reverse if you want to like reverse everything, but normally you're not going to like use it a lot. So mostly you're going to work with wrap. Mostly you're going to work with wrap. That's why I showed you that. So these were the basics of flex boxing. Now, if we go some like more in flex boxing, we have to use the entire lecture only for flex boxing. Now we also have to understand flex. What do you say? Not flex, pseudo classes and pseudo elements, right? So now we have to move. So these were like, I'm not telling you that I have like taught everything about flex boxing to you, but these were the basics that you can use as a Kickstarter. You can still make really good sites by just using these properties. All the other properties is like rare. We don't use them a lot. These are the properties that you use a lot. Okay, now what you can do is, if you have never understood flex, and if you have understood flex boxing now you can also understand other properties related to flex, because now you have the basics. Now you know what is flex direction. Now you know what does display flex do. Now you know like what is flex wrap. Now you know what is justify content. Now you know what is align items. So now you know the basics and the most important properties of flex boxing. Now you can use this as the Kickstarter and learn more about flex boxing. Is that clear, everyone? What if there are more elements? Will it make scrollable? Yes, definitely. If there are more elements, it will definitely go like in scrolling. But now, right now, you can see my parent's height is fixed. Where is my parent? Yep. My parent's height is fixed. So it's 600. What if I want to grow it? Like, what if I want it to grow? Right? What if I want, if my elements increase, it should grow? For that, what you can do is you can simply remove the height. Remove the height of the parent. Once you remove the height of the parent, what happens is it becomes auto. If you remove the height of the parent, it simply becomes auto. That means now it will be like this. There are no gaps. So for gaps, you have to give some margin. So let's go for card and let's give all of them a margin top of 20 pixel. So that from top, there will be some gap like this. And now if your elements increase, the parent size will automatically increase. That's why I simply remove the height. So when you remove the height from an element, the height becomes auto. So you can also do this. You can also give it like this. But actually, there is no need. If you don't even write it, it is still height auto. So why to give us extra property, right? So height auto means if your elements increase, the height of the parent will increase. The height of the main will automatically increase. Because if I keep it 600 pixels and if my elements increase, they will go out. I don't want that. I want my parent to increase the height depending on the number of child elements. So simply remove the height becomes auto. And now if your elements increase, the height of the parent will definitely increase. To see that, let's do this. Let's copy a few of the cards, paste it here. See, let's copy a few of them. There you go. See, now the parent's height is increasing. Is that clear to everyone? You can see that, right? The parent size is increasing. What if we want a circular container or any other shape? You can go for that. Let's go. Let's see that. Let's see that actually. So guys, you have a property called as border radius that you can use to like remove the sharp edges. Okay, so border radius, just give 10 pixels. You'll see now it's a 10 pixel radius circle on the corners, on each of the corners. But don't worry about that. That's how you can like make rounded corners. If you don't want the sharp edges, you can make rounded corners by just using this border radius. Now if you increase the border radius, you'll get more rounded corners like this. Okay, you can just give like 50 pixels, you'll have more of it. But I don't want that, right? So for now, let's give like I always like to use between like 5 and 10. It looks good. If I give like more than this, it looks like circle. I don't want that, right? See, it looks very weird if it is like more. So this much is fine, right? Is that clear to everyone? So now this was the basics of flexboxing, and now you can use it as a Kickstarter to learn more about flexboxing. But like I'll tell you, there are a few more properties. There's something like flex grow. There's something like flex shrink. These are the other two properties that you just have to learn, and then about that, flexboxing is done for you. You don't have to go in very deep. Now you know all the important properties. You know display flex. You know justify content, align items, flex wrap, flex direction. There are a few more like flex grow, flex shrink, flex basics. These three properties, understand them, and flexbox is done. Is that clear? So use this as a Kickstarter, understand the other three properties, and you're done. You know flexboxing now. Okay. Okay. I think, see, Raghuram, you have not given flex wrap then. Maybe. First row is continuously cards, right? So I think you have not given flex wrap. If they are arranged, like getting arranged in the first row only. You have not given flex wrap. Okay, guys, so are we cleared? Everyone, are we cleared with the basics of flexboxing? Can we move ahead now to understand pseudo classes, everyone? Because that's one of the coolest topics. So you have to understand pseudo classes. Then we're going to talk about pseudo elements. And then we're going to talk about transformations if we get time, because that's one of my favorite properties in CSS. Transformations is really cool. Really, really cool. Okay. Okay. So now, guys, let's move ahead. Already given, sir, but not getting. So Raghuram, for that, I have to see your code, buddy. So try it. If it is not happening, you can do one thing. Just go on the community. Just go on letsupgrade.in/community. Register there. You'll find me there. So just simply paste the screenshot of your code and I'll solve it for you. Because right now I can't see your code, right? So that's like one problem we have here. If you have given everything and it's not working, then I have to see your code. So just go on letsupgrade.in/community. Go there, register yourself and post your code there. Then I can see what is happening. Okay, I'll solve it out there. Okay, guys, so now let's move ahead. And now let's keep it, because if I share the file, I want all of you guys to have this. Okay. Animations. Let's see, guys. Let's see if we get time. I'll definitely show you animations. I don't think we're going to get that much time. Let's see, maybe in some other advanced CSS sessions. Maybe in some time, we're also going to have an advanced CSS session. At that time, I can teach like all about animation to you. How to perform CSS animations, I can teach all about it. Okay. Now, guys, let's create some more files. So let's get one more file. Let's give it a new file and sorry. Let's go here, new file, and um, let's call it like extra, because we're going to learn pseudo classes, we're going to learn pseudo elements, we're going to learn transformation in this file only. So let's call it extra, or let's call it additional. You can give any good name, but I'm just giving any random name. So additional.html. Okay. And now in this file, I'm going to use internal CSS, because I'm not going to write a lot of CSS, right? I am not going to write a lot of CSS. So for now, let's use internal CSS. I really hope that you know, right? I really hope that you remember how to use internal CSS. It's the CSS that we write using style tags in the same file, right, everyone? Please tell me, guys. Okay, and let's prepare the document first of all. So doc type HTML. Oh, HTML, then HTML. Inside that, I need a head. Inside that, I need a title. Let's call it additional. Then I need a body. Then now, as I told you that I'm going to use internal CSS, so let me also write. Okay, and also I'm going to do the basics. So star margin 0 pixels, adding 0 pixels. So basics are done. And now let's run this page. Now let's run this page. So right click, copy the path, go in the browser. You can just simply replace it, and now you go. You can see a good looking website, a really cool white page, right? So let's move and let's create something in that row. So now we're working with pseudo classes, guys. Okay, now we're going to work with pseudo classes. So first of all, let's simply try to understand what exactly is a pseudo class. Okay, so now do you guys know what is pseudo, everyone? Do you guys know what is pseudo? Please tell me in the chat, everyone. I just want to see. Do you guys know pseudo? What exactly is pseudo? I remember it from my 12th class days. If you've ever understood, like heard about pseudo force in circular motion, have you ever heard of it? Okay, not a problem. See, pseudo is nothing but it's like false. Okay, yeah, in physics, I also learned it there only. In my 12th science, there was a chapter of circular motion. So that is something where I heard pseudo about. Okay, so guys, pseudo is nothing but it's something like false. Okay, pseudo is something like false. That means it's not there, but you can feel it. That's what pseudo is. It's not there, but you can feel it or you can use it. In any case, something that is not there, but you can use it or feel it, or you think it exists, but it's not there. That is what you call as pseudo. Is that clear? I think I don't know the exact definition, but this is what I think about pseudo. Okay. Now in CSS, you have something called as pseudo classes. Now what I understand, what example? Okay, let me tell you example. I'm going to give you the same example of pseudo class. Okay. Now it's not pseudo class, the pseudo force. Now see, think of it like this. Think of you're riding a bike in a circular motion, right? You'll feel a force that is pushing you outside. Have you ever heard of that? If you ride your bike like this, you round it like this bike, you'll feel a force that is pushing you outside, but there's nothing that is pushing you outside. That's your circular motion that is pushing you outside. But you feel something. You feel that is something is pushing you from this side towards the outside. That is what is a pseudo force, I feel. Okay. So something that's not there, but you feel it. It is still existing somewhere. Is that cleared? So yes, I think that's one example I can give. Okay. I don't know any other examples, but that is one thing I remember from my college days. Okay, but fine, guys. That's the basic definition. Now, let's move back to CSS. Enough physics from my side now. Let's move back to CSS. So everyone, what is pseudo classes? Pseudo classes is something that you don't create. Now see, normally you create classes and then you apply CSS. Okay, and don't take my example seriously. That was just an example that I remember from my college days. Okay, so now let's move ahead. So now, pseudo class is something that you don't create, because see, normally you create classes and you apply CSS, right? You create classes and you apply CSS. Now you have something called as pseudo classes. That means classes that you don't create, but you use it. Is that clear, everyone? Classes that you don't create, but you use it. Right? Simple, understand. You don't create it. That means it's not there, but you can use it. So that's why they are called as pseudo classes. And they do pretty cool things. They really do pretty cool things. So let's try to understand it now. Okay. So let's move ahead, guys. Let's create a div. Okay. And let's give it a class. Now there are a lot of pseudo classes, guys, and we will only like we're gonna see like around 3 to 4 of them so that we can understand them. If you go online, if you go simply online and like just write pseudo classes, you're going to see a list of a lot of pseudo classes. But I'm simply making you understand the basics, because once you understand this, all the other pseudo classes will become really easy for you. Okay, so let's try to understand the basics. Here you're only understanding the basics and the fundamentals. After this, you can take it as a Kickstarter and learn everything else. It's totally fine. Okay, so let's go. Let's give it a class of 1. I always give a class of 1. And now let's apply some CSS to it. So now this is one class that I have created. So it's a real class. Okay, 1 is a real class. So 1, let's give it a width of 100 pixels. Let's give it a height of 100 pixels. And let's give it a background color of red. Again, here we go. We are giving red every time. So now we have it, and I have just zoomed it. Now let's move ahead and let's see what is happening. Let's see what I want to try now. So now, guys, let's try to apply a pseudo class on this element. Let's try to apply a pseudo class on this element. So how to apply a pseudo class? See, first of all, you're never going to come here and give a class, because if you give it here, it's a real class. If you give a class here, it's a real class. So pseudo classes are never applied on the element. Pseudo classes are applied through the CSS. How? Let's see. First of all, you write your main class, because you still want to select the element, right? Even if you want to apply a pseudo class to an element, you still need to select the element, right? To tell the pseudo class where you should get applied. So first of all, write the class name, the main class name, 1. Now to apply a pseudo class in CSS, you use colon. Don't give a space. Don't do that. Just use colon after your class name. And now after this colon, you can write down the pseudo class that you want to use. So there is one pseudo class, guys, named hover. There is one pseudo class named hover. Now you can write any CSS here. Now I can see some of you. Please zoom it. Here we go. Is that clear? Now you guys can see my font size. Big learn, big earn. Can you see my font size, buddy? Okay, guys. Now let's move ahead. So I write .1. That means this is the element I want to apply the pseudo class on. And what pseudo class I want to apply? I want to apply the pseudo class. Sorry, I want to apply this one, hover. So write your class name, the element selector, okay, and then colon and the pseudo class. So in this case, I'm using hover pseudo class. Now you can add any CSS here. For example, I can add background color green. But now how it works, because it's doing nothing here. Now remember, guys, hover pseudo class is applied whenever you hover on the element. When I say hover on the element, that means whenever you take your mouse on the element, this hover pseudo class gets applied. Let's see. Here we go. And here we go. See, just move your mouse on the element and hover class gets applied. The CSS inside the hover pseudo class gets applied. Is that cleared? Raval Vivek, please don't spam the chat, buddy. Please don't spam the chat. I can read your chat. Please don't spam it. What different of margin? I think you're asking what is the difference between margin and padding, right? So if this is your question, padding is a fake size. Margin is also a fake size. The difference is padding is visible. Margin is invisible. So it looks like a gap. Is that clear, Vivek? So padding and margin both are fake sizes, but padding is visible. Margin is invisible. Okay. Okay, guys. Now let's move ahead. Okay, and yeah, that's also a difference. Yep, BroPro is saying padding inside, margin outside. It's actually like not like inside outside. It looks inside because it is of the same color, right, BroPro? It's because of the same color. That's why it feels like it's inside. But yeah, you can tell that because just after element, you get padding, then you get border, and then at the end you get margin. But that's fine. Yeah, that's like one way of saying it. So that's cool, BroPro. Okay, guys. So that's how the hover works. That's how the hover works. So remember, guys, you can override any property in this. I can also change the width. I can say width 300 pixels. So now when I hover, initially, that means see, When the page loads, the width will be 100, the height will be 100, and the background color will be red. When I hover on the element, I want the background color to go green. I want the width to go 300 pixel. So now let's see. Here we go. Background color goes green and the width is 300 pixel. And if I remove it, it turns back. So that's how it works. Now, a lot of people are asking about animations, right? So let's do a few things. Let's do something that will make it look like animation. Okay. So guys, you have a property called as transition. Okay. So you can go in hover and you can give it like transition. What is transition? It's nothing but the timing between the initial stage and the final stage. It's the timing of the change. What is the change here? I'm changing the color, I'm changing the size, I'm changing the width. So basically, right now, the time it takes to change from the initial stage to the final stage is very fast. So I see like this. I can change that timing. And to change that timing, I can use transition to change the timing. So transition, I can give like 1 second. So now it will take 1 second to change it from normal 100 and red to 300 and green. Let's see now. Refresh. And here we go. See that? See that, everyone? That's how it works. But now I can see if I remove it, it goes back very fast. That means transition is only working in one way, not the other way. It's not going back fast. It's only like happening slow. But when I remove it, it goes back fast. Sorry, it's not going back slow. It's not going back fast. It's not going back slow. I'm so sorry. Okay. So it works slow, but if I remove it, it goes back fast. That means transition is not getting applied in the reverse side. So for that, see what is happening. Initially, it is like this. Then when you hover, it becomes like this. And there I have mentioned transition. But when you remove the hover, what happens? It again turns back to this. So what I can do is I can also apply a transition here. So transition, 1 second. That means when I hover, this happens. I want a transition. When I remove the hover, this happens and I still want the transition. Okay. So transition on both the places. And here we go. It works now, right? Yes, we can also use ease in out, but that's fine. Yeah, but for now, let's like keep it very basic. Okay. So this is what you can do. Now, guys, one more thing. Remember, whatever you apply on the main class, it is also same for the hover class. Whatever you apply on the main class, it is also same on the hover class. Okay. Only what you change is changed. Try to understand. See, height is 100 and I don't change the height in hover. So you can see normally height is 100 and even if I hover, the height is still 100. That means the only things change that I change, right? Things like that are changing, I have changed it. I have like wrote the properties for that. That's why they are changing. That means if I write something and if I don't change it in hover state, it will still be same. So what you can do is remove the transition from this place. Because if you write the transition only here, and if you don't override it again, it will be same for hover. So whatever you write in normal class, it is same for the hover class. Remember that. Whatever you write for the normal class, it is same for the hover class. Only what you changes. That means I'm only changing background color, I'm only changing width. That means height and transition are both same for the hover class as well. That means you don't have to write it. It's same. So now you will see transition is still working even if I remove it, because now I have wrote it here. So it's same for the hover class and it's again going back to the normal. So don't repeat it. Is it clear? Don't repeat it. Just write it once in the main class. It also works for hover. It also works for normal, because whatever you write in normal class, it is same for the hover class. Hover class only changes the things that you write separately. Like see, background color was red. So I wrote it again. I wrote it separately again. So it changed. Width was 100. I wrote it again because I want to override it. I want to change it. But height and transition, I want to same for the hover start. I want it to be same for the hover start. Is that cleared, everyone? Now you can make it fast. You can give it like 0.5 seconds instead of 1 second. Give it 0.5 seconds. And if you go now, it will be fast. See? Is it cleared? Joshua, what is your doubt, buddy? Sir, we can use before, after pseudo classes. Sorry, can we use before, after? Before, after, not pseudo classes. How to change mouse pointer? For that, you have a property of cursor. So now pointer is the hand symbol. Okay, so by default, like it's not by default. By default, it's arrow. But if you give pointer, see what is pointer? Pointer is this, the hand symbol. See, you also have a lot of things. You also have what was it called? Progress. I feel, yeah, progress. See, progress gives you the loading one. See that loading thing? That's progress. Then you also have this, not allowed. So you'll have this. See, the not allowed symbol. So you can change your cursor. It's totally up to you. See the not allowed symbol. So pointer is for hand. If you want that hand symbol, the link symbol, that's pointer. Okay, and by default it's arrow. So everyone, I hope we are clear with this now. So that was the hover pseudo class. Okay, now let's talk about one more pseudo class. Let's comment this out. Let's talk about one more pseudo class. Okay, let's talk about dot one. So guys, there is one more pseudo class. Now this pseudo class is mostly used with buttons. Okay, and the pseudo class is active. Is there any other pseudo class? Yes, active is one of it. Let's change the background color again back to green. Now see, there is no hover. See, there is no hover. Now what is active? How active works? Active only applies when you press the mouse, when you left click, like when you simply left click and you press it. You don't click it, you actually press it. What is the difference between pressing and clicking? Pressing is like this. Press and keep it. This is press. Click is this. Press and leave. Press and leave. This is complete click. Press is only when you keep it pressed. So basically active applies only when you press. So now see, press and I still have like pressed my mouse. If I remove it, it goes away. Click and keep it. Press and keep it. And here we go. So like this. Whenever you perform a click, for some part of time, press will be activated. And you can see that active thing. So now this is something that is mostly used with buttons because you want that effect of clicking the button, right? So it gives you the effect of clicking. For example, see, if I remove this active, and now if I tell you, guys, I'm clicking, you can trust me, but you can't see it. You will not get the effect of clicking, right? So active is basically used. See, your click will still work, your functionalities will still work. Don't worry about that. But just to give the user the effect that he has actually clicked, you can do this. So user will be sure that he actually clicked, because sometimes if your functionalities take time, so user will think I have not clicked. So that's why just to give a user an acknowledgement that okay, fine, you have clicked, you can do this. So right, user will think okay, fine, when I clicked it, something happened. That means I'm sure that I clicked something. So user will be sure. So for that, you can use this active. That's why I told you, right? Active is mostly used with buttons. Is that cleared? Okay. Now, guys, let's move ahead and let's see one last pseudo class for today. Okay. And the next pseudo class works mostly with input types. Okay. So let me create an input element here. And let me give it a class INP. Okay. So now I have the input field and let me remove this. I don't need it. Remove it. Or let's keep it. Doesn't matter. Let's keep it because I'm still going to give it a margin. Okay. So dot INP. Okay. Let me give it a margin of 20 pixels so that there will be a margin of 20 pixels all around. Can we add a transition to click? Yes, why not, buddy? Yes, definitely you can add it. Definitely you can add it. Is that cleared? Vikas? Okay. Now, guys, see, the next pseudo class that I want to show you is a pseudo class that mostly works with input tags. That is something called as focus. Now, what is focus? Remember, whenever you go inside an input field and you click your cursor there, now this is what you call as focus. If your cursor is inside the input element, you can see that, right? Your cursor is inside the input. Your input element is activated. That's what you call as a focus. You can see that. If I like click outside, now that's deactivated. You can see that. Now that's deactivated. I'm also watching it on YouTube, but it's a little delayed. So I can understand that you're getting the things late, but that's fine. Okay, so you can see, right? Here we go. So that's what you call as focus. And now you can do everything on that. So for example, I can say like, okay, I want the background color to be blue if I focus. Now see what will happen. Here we go. Click outside, it's gone. But if I click in the cursor, if I click in the text box, it's focused and you can see the background color is blue. But this is really bad, right? I don't want this. I really don't want this. I want something else. I want something good. Let's do this. First of all, I can see if I focus on that, the outline comes here. I don't want this black outline. So for that, you can simply say outline none. That thing that you see there is outline. Now if I focus, see now that outline is not coming because that was a default feature of input. That outline comes there. And also, I want a border radius of 10 pixels. And also, I want a border of 1 pixel solid gray. Okay. So let's see if it is looking good. Really bad. Let's also give it a height. Height of 40 pixels. And I don't want to give it so this is the actual size, guys. I have zoomed the page, so this is the actual size. Let me zoom it again. Okay, so yeah, 40 is looking so big, so let me just, yep, here we go. And also you can like give it a width. So for now, let's give it a width of like 400 pixels. Actually, I want to show you something. So now you can see this is my input field, and let's also give it a placeholder. So let's give it a placeholder of enter name. Now why I'm doing this, because someone was asking about box shadow, right? So I want to show you some box shadow here. Okay, that's why. Now see, you can see the text is actually really close to the border. I don't want that. So for that, you can simply use text indent 20 pixel. So the text will go away from the border. Okay, here we go. Repeat what's focus. I'm taking note. Okay, Jayanta. Focus is basically when you click inside input field and leave it. That's a focus. When your cursor is inside the input field, you can see right? The cursor is inside the input field. See that? The cursor is inside the input field. That's focus. When I click outside, that cursor goes away. That means now it is unfocused. So when I click inside input field, that's simply focus. Is that clear? Indent. Indent is simply moving your text from the border. Like for example, see when you write have you ever seen a paragraph in a storybooks? The first line is always indented because the first line always starts from a little gap. You have seen that in paragraphs, the first line is always indented. So that's what we call as indent. So I basically indented this text. So I created some gap. So indent is basically gap between the start and the text. Gap between the place from the text was supposed to start and the actual text where you have moved it. So that's the indent. Like this. See, if I write a text like this, if I just go here and give spaces 1, 2, 3, 4, this is also indent. This is what we call as indentation of text. Is that clear? So that's what text indent property does. So basically I have indented the text 20 pixels. So there is a gap of 20 pixels between the start and the text. Okay. Now, a lot of people were asking about shadows, right? Let's use it now. So if you ever want to give a shadow to an element, now I'm doing on a focus, but you can use anywhere. For the error, what is the name of extension that you use? For these kind of things, for this error that is coming, I use error lens. So there is an extension called error lens. You can simply download that in VS Code. So if you want to like see this lines in between, like below your text where you have not completed things, or if it is wrong, if you want to see this error messages, for that you can simply download error lens. And I always use it. It's really great. It solves all my compilation issues. Basically, give me the hint of my issues so I can solve it. Okay. Now, a lot of people, yes, like in the last session, were asking about shadow, right? So now let's see how to give shadow. Right now, I'm doing it on focus, but you can do anytime. So now to give shadow to your elements, not only input elements, to div, to images, to everyone, the property is box shadow. You have something called as box shadow. Okay. Now, after that, you have 4 parameters. Like mainly we use 4 parameters. The first is top shadow. Then you have right shadow. Okay, the measurement of right shadow. First one is measurement of top shadow. Second is measurement of the right shadow. Third is how much spread you want. Okay, and fourth is the color of the shadow. So for example, I can give like black. black. Now let's give them sizes. So I can give like 20, not 20, 20 is just to show you, let's give 20. 20 pixel, 20 pixel, and the spread that I want is again 20 pixel. Now see, everyone please focus, you'll understand what is happening here. And when I focus, see that? It's actually not top right, guys. It's actually not top right. It's actually not top right. It's right and bottom. I forgot. It's not top right, it's right and bottom. Okay, you can see it. Let's remove this. Okay. Just to understand where it is actually going, let me give it a minus. Now this is one property that I always get confused in. Let's give minus and let's see where it is going. Oh, on focus. So sorry, I forgot. Here we go. Yep. So first one is for the right. Okay. So first one is for the right. Second one, this one is basically for the bottom. If I want on top and left, I can give simply minus. So if you give minus, it reverses. Now you can see. And for some time, guys, let's not do it on focus. Just to understand this, let's do it normally. Because, yep, here we go. See that? Now it's on top, on left, top and left. Okay. But if I remove the minus, now it's on top and right. So the first one is for the right or left. The second one is for the top or bottom. Depends on if you give minus or something. So if I remove the minus, while being positive, they are bottom. So right and bottom. Okay. And then you have this. This is the smudge. This is the smudge. You can see that, right? If I decrease it, you will see what is happening. Decrease it. 10. See what is happening now? The smudge decreases. Right? If I decrease this even more, it becomes more sharper, right? Here we go. Something like that. Is that cleared, everyone? Now, but I don't want this big shadows. Let's give it like 2 and 2. Not this much. 2 and 2 will look good. This was just to explain you, right, guys? Okay. If you want it all, in all directions, way above, I can tell you. For that, simply make this 0, make this 0, and only give this. That's it. Don't give top and right, only give this. And now you'll have shadow in all the directions. See now, the shadow is in all the directions. See that? So you have a 5 pixel smudged shadow in all the directions. So that's what you can do. I can also make it like 50. It's in all directions. See that? It's in all the direction, and now it's looking like a 3D thing. But I don't want this much. I don't want this much. I simply want 5 pixel. But I don't want it here. I want it to be on focus. So let's move back to focus. That means I only want the shadow when I focus. Here we go. When I focus, see, can you see the shadow there? Can you see that, guys? But I don't want it to be black. I want it to be light blue or sky blue, maybe. I want my shadow to be sky blue. Now see what will happen. Here we go. See that light blue shadow, everyone? Can you guys see that? So you can create something like this. So this is where you can use shadows if you want. This is where you can use shadows. And also, yeah, let's make this text field light gray instead of gray. Border light gray. So it will be really thin and the shadow is here. You can also like increase a little bit more, maybe 8. Let me zoom it. Let me zoom it. Here we go. See. This is what I'm talking about. Is that cleared, everyone? So when I focus, we have a shadow. You can also use it normally, but I showed you like I simply showed that on a focus so that you can understand the use of shadows. Can we insert colors through hex code? Why not? Because definitely you can insert colors through normal names. You can insert colors through hex code. You can insert colors through what do you call RGB calculations. You can also do that. It's totally fine. So guys, are we clear with shadows, everyone? Now there's one more thing. There's one more parameter that you can put on the start that is named as inset. By default, it's outset or it's drop shadow. That means it's outside. You can also use inset. What inset does is you get internal shadow. Is that clear? You simply get internal shadow. I can also see it on YouTube, but like I know that it's a little delayed. Okay. Are we understanding, guys? So it's inset. This is how, what do you mean? Like this is how you get inside shadow. So inset, normally you don't use it. It's very rare to use an internal shadow. But yes, you can use it to make a feeling of groove or something like that. For example, if I want to show you, see this. Let's go to 1. Let's turn it back to a circle. So let's give it a border radius of 50%. See guys, if the height and width of the element is same, and if you give a border radius of 50%, it turns back to a circle like this. The circle. Is that clear, everyone? It simply becomes a circle. And now what you can do is sir reading live chat or not? Nimra, I'm reading live chat. You can see that, right? I am reading all of the chats. I just read your chat. So I'm reading live chats. Tell me what is your doubt, Nimra. Okay. Now you can do this. See. Remember guys, if you ever want to make a circle, your height and width should be same. If it's a square, it can become a circle. If it's a rectangle, it will become ellipse. Normal logic, right? If it's a square, if the width and height are same, and if you give border radius 50%, it becomes a circle. Okay, now, let me give a box shadow. So box shadow, and first of all, it's going to be inset. So I want it inside 0, 0, 50 pixel. Let's say black. Oh, it's 5, right? Let me make it 50. You can get the effect of groove. See? Like a 3D ball, something like that, right? So you can also, let me see on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube, it's also looking good. So you can make like a 3D ball or something like that, but just using basic things. Okay. Is that cleared, everyone? Are we cleared? Guys, are we clear with this? So you can also use box shadows for these purposes. Okay. It's totally up to you how you want to use it. Okay. How can we show a pop-up message when we hover on an element? For pop-up, we have to use JavaScript. Shardul, for pop-up, we have to use JavaScript because we're hiding an element, and on hover, we are showing it. So we need to use some JavaScript there. Miramad, yes, buddy. Welcome back, buddy. Miramad, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. Now, guys, let's move ahead. So this was the basic pseudo classes. So I showed you hover, I showed you active, I showed you focus. These are the most like important pseudo classes that you know, like not most important, but the most commons. Now you have some more pseudo classes that you can learn by yourself because now you have the basics. Now you know what are pseudo classes. Now you know how they work. So the other pseudo classes, it's going to be really easy to understand them. Is that cleared? Can focus only on use in input types. Mostly Prasad there only because that is the only place where you can click your cursor and keep your cursor. Normally, when you click on a div, you don't keep your cursor there. Mostly when you click on an input element, you keep your cursor there. That's what the meaning of focus is. Okay, so normally you're going to focus on input fields only. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead and let's see the last thing for today. I don't think we have like a lot of time to go for everything. Okay, time is running out. Yes, Hemant, we're almost there. So now I'm going to take the last 10 minutes and I'm going to show you transformations because that's one of my favorite properties. I want to know, will you arrange more classes of language like JS, PHP, WordPress? Yes, Nimra. Yes. I think from tomorrow only we are starting with JS essentials. Yes, Nimra. So we're going to learn the basics of JS from tomorrow. And yes, in future we're also planning for PHP. And yes, WordPress is in our charts. So yes, Nimra, we're going to do that. Okay, guys. So now let's see the last properties for today. Okay, that is transformation, and it is one of my favorite properties. So let's go and let's see it. Okay. So for that, let me create another div. Let's keep these two looking like these two are looking very good. So let's create one more. So let's create a div again, and let's give it a class of demo. Give any more class, it's fine. Give anything, give any class. Now, guys, see everyone. So dot demo. Okay, let's give it a height of 200 pixels, a width of 200 pixels, a background color of, let's say, green, or let's give it like black. Okay, save it. The drop down pop-up can be done with CSS, right? Yeah, drop down can be done. Yep, why not? I think in my maybe in the responsive essentials or somewhere I created a drop down menu, so you can watch that. I actually did that, creating drop down using CSS. Now, as you can see, I have a black div here. Okay, now let's try to use transform, and for transformation I'm going to use hover so that I can show you the initial stage and what is happening after transformation. But remember, you can also use transformation normally. See guys, whatever I'm doing on hover is just to show you two different stages so that you can understand in a better way. so that you can see how it was initially and how it is finally. But you can also use transformations normally without hover. I'm using hover because I want to show you the previous state, and when I hover, I want to show you what the transformation did on that element. Okay, so on demo, hover, and also let's give it a transition so that you can see what is happening. Transition 0.5 seconds. Okay, now guys, let's move ahead. So let's use the property of transform. And now let's see the few basic values of it. Okay, so the first and one of my favorites is scale. First one and one of my favorites is scale. What is scale? Scale is basically used to change the size of an element. You cannot say change, it's kind of changing size. It's like zooming. It's like zooming. Okay, so by default, the value of scale is 1. So if you see, if I do transform scale 1, see, nothing is happening if I hover on it. Nothing is happening. But now if I say 1.2, that means it will increase it by 0.2%, or basically 0.2 times. So now if you see, refresh and see here, like zooming. Can you see that? If I make it 2, now let me move it a little in the center. So let's use margin 100 pixels or maybe 400 pixels because I want to show you. See here now, like see here. Fine, let's keep it here. Here we go. See that? It's central zoom. It is central zoom. It's not like increasing the width in one side, increasing the height in one side. See, when you increase the width, what happened? It was in one direction. Scaling is in all 4 directions like this, and it's a really cool property. So if you ever want to zoom something, if you ever want to increase the size from all 4 directions, use scale. Don't change the width or height, because width will go in one direction, height will go in the bottom, like in the bottom direction, width will go in the right direction, but scaling goes in all the 4 directions. See that? And you can also downscale it. Like by default it's 1, so I can say 0.5, 0.5. See, I can also make it small like this. So that's what scaling is. So one question, I have one project from Google and ran on my VS Code. I had made some changes, but the background image wasn't changed. It changed for a while, but when I refreshed my page, it disappeared. So is it a project from, like, did you download the project, or you're simply changing the Google code in the inspect element? Tell me that first. Have you downloaded the project? I think you have downloaded because you're using it on VS Code, right? So I think you have downloaded it. So first of all, like, clear me that, Nimra. Have you downloaded the project, or you're simply changing the online code? Tell me that once. I use XAMPP server. So basically you have downloaded it. So when you refresh, it goes away. No, that should not happen. What happens if we put a negative value in a scale? You can try that. Why not? Definitely try that. -1. Let's see what is happening. It simply goes 0, I feel. It simply goes 0. Something like this. And it simply goes 0. Then my hover is not there. It turns back, but again hover is there. It goes 0. Again, my hover is not there. It comes back like that. Okay. So I think actually there is, let's see. Let's see. -0.5. Let's see actually it is inverting or not. Let's see. Yep. It inverts. Yes. Okay, Priyanshu. Is your doubt cleared, buddy? Okay. Now let's move ahead. Now see guys, in this you can also have this, like for example, let me move it 1.5. Let me keep it 1.5 again. Okay. Now you can also use this. You can now scale is in all 4 directions. Basically, it's on x-axis and y-axis both. You can also use this scale x. So only scaling in the x-axis. You can also use scale y if you only want to scale in the y direction. Where can we use this scale usually? For zooming your elements, for creating zooming effects, like images are getting big, characters are getting big slowly. For those things you can use it. Why not? Is that cleared? Nimra, what you can do is, Nimra, see, there is a grouping in the chat. Do one thing, join that group and post your screenshot or what kind of things you're doing in that, so that I can understand what is actually happening with your project. Because just like by reading your text, I cannot understand what actually happening. I also want to see that code. Okay, so do one thing, join on that group, the group link in the chat, join in that group and paste the screenshot there so that I can see what is actually happening. Is that clear? Can we scale in the z-axis? No, Monty, not in this case, buddy. No, because see, we don't have a 3D screen right now, so we cannot scale in z-axis. Is that cleared? Is that cleared, Monty? So z-axis is like normally not accessible for all the properties, but yes, there are few properties in which you can use z-axis, but not with scale. Okay, guys. Now let's move ahead and let's see the other transformation property. Is again one of the coolest. That is transform rotate. Transform rotate. Okay. So first of all, I would like to show you rotate X. Okay. Now rotation is done in degrees. Okay. So if I see rotation 30 DEG, that is 30 degrees. See what is happening. Now it's rotate X. Now remember, guys, this is your X axis, this is your Y axis, and this is your Z axis, right? So X, Y, and Z. This is X, this is Y, and this is Z. So when I say rotation on X axis, it's going to happen like this. So your element is like this, it's going to rotate like this. Remember that. If it is one Y axis, your rotation is going to like this. On a Z, it's going to be like this. Okay. So if I say rotate X, Nimra, grouping in the chat. Jyotsna, can you please put the grouping in the chat once more? Okay. Now I see what is happening. See everyone. See, it's not getting small. Your element is not getting small. It looks like that because it's a 2D screen, but it's actually doing this. It's actually doing this. X-axis rotation. Is that cleared, everyone? Guys, are we understanding? Scrolling text. Let's see, buddy. Let's try to complete transformations first, right, Vikas? Let's try to complete this first. Are we understanding, guys? So it's not getting small. It's rotating like this. Because it's a 2D screen, we think it is getting small, but it's not. Okay, it's doing this. So you can see that if I rotate it on 90 degrees, now what is 90-degree rotation? Like this, right? 90. This is 90-degree rotation. See what is happening. It goes away because it's like this, 90-degree rotation, and it's a very thin thing. It's a very thin right line, so you can't see it. Is that cleared? Turns back. Just to show you, it's actually rotating. Let's do one thing. Let's go in that div. Please focus, everyone. Let's first of all change the color of this because black is not a good color, right? For these kind of things. So let's make it red. Red is here. Now let's write something on that. Let's say my name, Saurabh. Okay, and let's increase the font size. So font size of 40 pixel. Now I want to show you it's actually rotating. Okay, so let's see. Now let's rotate it 180 degree. That means this 180, completely reverse. Let's see if it is actually doing that. Here we go. See that? It is actual rotation. Reversed, right? Reversed, flipping. So rotation on x-axis. And now you can also rotate it on y-axis. So let's see. Transform, rotate y. Now let's give it again 180 degrees. Now when I say rotate on y, what happens? Now this is the y-axis. So it rotates like this, right? So let's see. Here we go. See? It can also be done by letter spacing. What, Thakur? Thakur study circle, what can be done by letter spacing? Can you tell me that? Like you're saying it from like a lot of time. So what can be done by letter spacing? Can you tell me that? Is that cleared? Guys, are we understanding this? And now finally, let's rotate it on z-axis. Now you know, right? Z-axis, something that pops out in front of you. So this is z-axis. And it will rotate like this. Okay, so let's see. See, here we go. Rotation on z-axis. It's like completely visible, right? See? You can also do this. Let's give the transition 1 second, like a little more time. And let's rotate it like 34,000 degrees. Let's see. Here we go. It will move continuously like this. See? You can also do this like, you can use these things for a lot of tricks. If you want to create moving circles, you can use this. You can definitely create moving circles. using rotations like this. Always, you can always create. Like if you want to see, I can show you that. I can show you that actually. Let's do it. Let's first of all turn it to a circle. So border radius 50%. We go now to circle. Remove the text for some time. I don't need the text. Okay. Remove the text for some time. Okay. Yes, Chirag, definitely. Why not? And now I want to do some things like border top. So border top 20 pixel or 10 pixel solid. Let's say any border color like orange. You can see there's the orange border. See, it looks like a two circles, right? One circle is behind. You can have this effects. Okay. I want to give all the borders. So all the 4 different colors. So border top is this. Then border left is going to be white. Border right is going to be, yes, you can use it for lucky draws. Why not? That's how these things are created, right? And border. So I'm basically using orange and white like this. Okay, white you can't see. You can't see the white. So let's give it a box shadow. Box shadow 0, 0, 20 pixel black. At least you'll see it now. See, now you can see that. Now see what is happening. It's moving, and you can increase the time if you want it to be slow. You can increase the time, like transition 4 seconds. Now it will move slow like this. Remove it. So now it is like circling. And if you apply some infinite animations, it will like move it. Just keep moving. You can do that as well. But don't worry, we'll learn that kind of stuff maybe in some future sessions. So that's how rotate works. Rotate X, rotate Y, and rotate Z. I hope you guys understood it. Okay. Now, let's see the final transformation for today. It is again one of my favorites. Actually, everything is my favorite. I keep telling it again, right? Again and again. So transform, sorry, not scale, translate. Okay. Yes, you can definitely do that. Why not? So how do you comment a line or so quickly in VSC? Select it, Priyanshu, and just use Control/. That's it. Like this. If I want to comment this line, I can be on this line and press Control/. The whole line's like the whole line is commented now. And again to activate it, Control/. So it's a shortcut, Priyanshu. Control/, Control/. So it doesn't depend on the language you're using. It doesn't depend on what kind of file type you have. In any kind of file, Java file, HTML file, CSS file, you can comment it by just using Control/. You don't have to take care of it. And now finally, guys, let's see the last thing for today, that is translate. So let's use translate X first. Translate is simply movement. Movement. That's it. So for example, 45 pixels. See what's going to happen now. Okay, let me decrease the timing. 4 seconds is too much. 0.4 seconds. Here we go. See? If I hover on it, it moves 45 pixels on the x-axis. See that? You can also do this for the y-axis. It will now move vertically. So here we go. Like this. You can also go negative, like minus 45. Now it's going on the top. Okay. No, Vikas, no, I didn't create that. I didn't create that. It was created way before I came to LetsUpgrade, Vikas. Okay. So guys, are we clear? That's how transformations work, and you can use it. If you properly use it, it can do wonders. It can make your website look really, really cool and amazing. Is that how to make how to move on whole screen? It is possible. Yes, it is definitely possible, Abhishek, but for that we have to use JavaScript. If I want to scroll my page on hover or on anything, I have to use JavaScript. So guys, is everything cleared? Is everything like, was everything clear to you? Whatever we learned today, is everything clear to you guys? Please tell me that. And the most important question, did you guys enjoy it? Everyone, please tell me. Can we use more than one transform in one element? Yes, yes, yes. If you want to do that, you can do this. Always do it in the same property. Don't use multiple properties. So you can use this. See, Mudad, if you want to do that, transform and then write all the properties by just giving a space. So translate y this and give a space and scale again. So use the same, use it in the same transform like this. So now it also moves and it also scales like this. Never use multiple transforms. It will override it. Okay. Web translate is just movement, buddy. It simply moves. That's it. It simply moves. That's it. That's it. If I remove it, see, translate is just movement. See, if I hover on it, it moves down 45 pixel because it is translate y. So it's in the y direction, the column direction. If I hover on it, it moves down. It's like margin top, but a little better. Is that cleared, everyone? Guys, are we cleared? So that's it for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the, and yes, before that, one more thing. Please register to the course. All the things that I did today, all the files and all the assignment questions will be mailed to you. And also join the group. The group link in the chat, join the group. All these things will be posted there. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, so please join the group and please register to the course. You'll get an email and the assignment questions will also be mailed to you, and also join the group. So all the things will be posted there. Okay. So I really hope you understood everything. I really hope that you enjoyed everything that we did in this session. And now I will see you in the future essential sessions. Or if you want to learn a lot about everything, a lot about web development with like tons and tons of project, which we'll do all practically together, you can also join our advanced courses where I teach everything from scratch to the end. So you can also do that, or you can keep enjoying the essentials. We're going to come up with a lot of essentials in the future. We're going to come up with JS essentials, WordPress, PHP, React, Angular, everything. So you can be there. Okay, and we can learn a lot of things together. So this is the last session for this course. Yes, Vikas, it is the last session. Okay. Jyotsna, can you please put down the links of the group and the what do you say, the registration link in the chat? Can you please put that, all of it? Abhishek, Kakumanu, for that, what you can do is just go on LetsUpgrade site, register yourself, and we'll help you in that. We'll make you understand everything about the advanced courses. Is that clear, Abhishek? So just go on LetsUpgrade.in, register yourself, and try to contact us from there. Okay. And if you want to know more about the courses, Jyotsna, can you please note down Abhishek's name? Abhishek Kakumanu is here. He wants to know more about it. So yes, don't worry, Abhishek. Just go on the site, register yourself, and we'll contact you. Just try to contact us from there. Fill the form and try to contact us from there. Yes, Jayanta, yes. We're going to start with JS tomorrow, and yes, it will be done by me. Okay. So Shardul, the link is in the chat. Jyotsna, can you please put the attendance link in the chat as well? Sir, please tell us about your qualifications. Okay, I have done BSc IT, and I was in competitions. I was representing India in web designing and development. So basically, it was web technologies. So I was doing that for 4 years, and I have done my BSc IT from Mumbai. So that's my qualifications. Okay, and the main thing was competitions. That is the place where I learned a lot. Okay. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. Could you please give a roadmap to front end? Yes, definitely. Start with HTML and CSS, start with designing. And then after that, you can go for like JavaScript. JavaScript is one of the most important skill that you should have as a front-end developer. Then after that, learn frameworks of JavaScript. Learn React. So at least 2. So React or Angular, React or Vue, or Angular or Vue, anything, but at least try to learn 2 frameworks. One perfectly, one at least you should know the basics. Okay. So that's it, guys. That's it for today. Thank you so much. I really hope that you enjoyed everything. I really hope that you learned something new. And now I'll see you in future sessions or the advanced sessions if you join there. Okay. Paid course teach by user. Yes, yes, Raj. Yes, I'm going to teach that. Yes, I'll be there. Okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you so much for learning with me. And I'll see you in future sessions, everyone. Bye-bye. And have a really great Sunday, everyone. Bye-bye. And good afternoon. Bye-bye, everyone. See you in the next sessions, everyone. Bye-bye.